I always believed that being a mother meant knowing when to be present and when to step back. My name is Isabel. I'm 45 years old, and I live in Bilbao, in an old high-rise apartment I inherited from my parents. It's a peaceful place, with views of the orange rooftops and the shifting seasons. I've learned to embrace solitude, to savor silence. But silence doesn't last forever, especially when a daughter carries chaos in her veins. My daughter, Laura, got married at 22. Too young, in my opinion, based on my own experience. I had just finished my degree when that charming boy with the easy smile, Marcus, came into her life with his restless hands. She told me she loved him, that he understood her like no one else. I didn't say anything. I just sat down and brewed coffee. During their first visits, everything seemed perfect. They held hands, gazed at each other. But soon, too soon, I started noticing the cracks. The uneasy silences, the separate outings, the late-night calls. Sundays were the worst. She'd come alone, saying Marcus had things to do. Sometimes she cried without explaining why. I offered her soup and let her sleep in her old room, the one still decorated with high school photos. I never asked her anything. I thought that was best. One November night, with rain pelting the windows, I heard a knock at the door. I rushed, expecting the delivery guy who could never find the buzzer. But when I opened it, there was Marcus. He was drenched. His white shirt clung to his body, his eyes distant. "I'm sorry, Isabel," he said. "Can I come in for a moment? I don't know who else to turn to." I froze. I wanted to say no, that this wasn't right. That if he had issues with my daughter, he should talk to her, not me. But his expression silenced me. It was the look of someone not just asking for help, but seeking refuge. I let him in. I handed him a towel and a cup of tea. He sat on the edge of the couch as if it might burn him. "I don't want to lose her," he whispered, "but I don't know what to do anymore." I didn't know what to say. It wasn't my place. I had no right to interfere. And yet there I was, listening as his voice trembled as he avoided my gaze. He spoke of their arguments, the yelling, how every word between them turned into a battle line. "Sometimes I feel like she hates me," he said with a broken smile. "And the next day she hugs me like nothing happened. It's exhausting. It's like walking barefoot on broken glass." I wasn't a therapist, a friend, or a confidant. I was his mother-in-law. But that night I felt like something else, a witness to a shipwreck. I said something vague, maybe about patience, hoping it might help. Then he left quietly, shoulders slumped. I stood alone in the kitchen, wondering if I'd done the right thing. Because deep down, something told me this wouldn't be the last knock at my door. After that first night, I thought he wouldn't come back, that it was a moment of desperation. A one-time lapse, but I was wrong. The next week, Marcus knocked again. No rain in his hair this time, but a poorly hidden anxiety in his jaw. I opened the door without asking, without thinking. I found myself serving him tea without knowing why, as if the scene had played out 1,000 times in a life I hadn't lived. "I don't want to bother you, Isabel," he'd always say as he stepped inside. "But I don't know who else to talk to." I didn't respond. I just offered silence and a place to unload his burdens. His visits became routine. Sometimes he talked a lot, words tumbling out, mixing facts with feelings. Other times he sat across from me, silent, fidgeting with the rim of his cup, as if afraid to break something. Fear was always there. "She's slipping away from me," he'd repeat. "She's slipping through my fingers, I can't reach her." I listened. It wasn't easy. He was talking about my daughter. And even though he didn't speak with malice, every word felt like a stone in my stomach. Sometimes I just wanted him to stop. But he kept coming, and I kept opening the door. I asked myself, why don't I stop him? Why don't I tell him this is wrong, that it's not my role? The answer was simple. Because no one else was listening to him. One day, he told me about a particularly ugly fight. He said Laura had thrown a glass at him, that he'd yelled things that couldn't be taken back. And though he didn't raise his voice, he admitted he felt hatred, not for her but for himself. "What did I do wrong?" he asked, eyes glassy. "When did I lose her?" I pressed my lips together. I couldn't answer, I shouldn't. It was their relationship, their battle. I was just an echo. But I realized my silence wasn't neutral. Listening to him, without saying a word, was also a way of taking a side. One day, after another visit, I found a crumpled note in my bag. It wasn't for me. It was Laura's, probably forgotten. It read, "I can't take it anymore. I'm drowning with you. You make me feel guilty even for breathing. You're not bad, you're just too much." I stared at those words for a long time, and for the first time in weeks, I let myself cry. Not for them, for me. Because I was caught in the middle of a love that wasn't mine, a story where I shouldn't have been a character. But I was, whether I wanted to be or not. I don't remember ever raising my voice at my daughter. Never. Not when she was a teenager sneaking out the window to go to parties. Not when she lied about staying at a friend's house, and I found her hours later at a police station for drinking too much. I was always the quiet mother, the one who swallowed hard and said, "We'll talk tomorrow." But that day, there was no tomorrow. Laura stormed in like a hurricane through my hallway. I was folding clothes in the living room, still haunted by the echo of my talk with Marcus the night before. "So now you're his confidant too," she shouted before I could even say hello. I looked at her. Her eyes were blazing, her face twisted with anger and hurt. "What are you talking about, Laura?" "About Marcus, that he comes here like this is his home. That you listen to him, understand him, comfort him with your eyes while I'm falling apart." I couldn't respond right away, because in part she was right. "I didn't know you knew," I mumbled, more to myself than to her. "Of course I knew. Always knew, but I wanted to believe you'd be on my side. You're my mom, Isabel." That name, Isabel, not mom, not mommy, not mama, just Isabel. As if I'd suddenly stopped being her mother and become a stranger. "Laura, he just needed to talk. Then let him find a therapist. You know how it feels, knowing he runs to you every time we fight, that you know things I don't even dare tell you." I tried to stay calm, I really did. But something in her gaze made my blood boil. "And you know how it feels for me?" I shot back, my voice sharp for the first time. "Knowing my daughter treats her husband like an enemy, shutting out everyone, even me. Do you know how long I've stayed quiet, swallowing your screams, your disdain, your tantrums?" The silence that followed was like shattered glass. Laura stared at me, frozen. For a moment, I saw the little girl who clung to my leg when she was scared. But that image vanished instantly. "Then stay with him," she whispered. "In the end, you're turning your back on me too, like everyone else." And she left. The door slammed, rattling the frame. I stood alone in the living room, an unfolded shirt in my hands, my heart in pieces. I had defended Marcus, not her, and that hurt more than I ever imagined. The news came like the dry snap of a branch breaking in a forest. No preamble. No pleas, no long letters, no knocks at the door. Just a short text from Laura in the family group chat. "We signed." That's it, no adjectives, no nouns, no tears. I sat staring at my phone for minutes, unsure what to do. I reread it over and over. "We signed." As if it were a lease agreement. As if it weren't a story that had just ended. For weeks, the house felt quieter than ever. No one knocked on my door. No one asked for advice in the form of monologues. Laura didn't call. Marcus didn't show up. Just me. Me with my cold coffee, staring out the window at a sky that didn't change color. I heard from a mutual friend that Marcus had left Madrid. Not far, just to Alcalá. He didn't say goodbye. No note. No final visit. No last apology. And Laura seemed to drift through her own life like a ghost. When she finally came to see me weeks later, she sat in the kitchen, avoiding my eyes. "Did he say anything to you?" she asked. "No," I replied. "Nothing. Better that way." She took a sip of water and looked down. She seemed younger, yet older, as if the divorce had stolen something she didn't know she had. We didn't talk more that afternoon. I went to bed early but couldn't sleep. I felt a strange, new kind of loneliness. Not of abandonment, but of being used up, as if I'd been wrung out and left in a corner. Something inside me was breaking quietly. I felt like a traitor. I felt empty. I had tried not to interfere, but I ended up caught between two ruins. And now I was left staring at the wreckage, unsure which one I needed to rebuild. Marcus had been a persistent shadow in my space, my thoughts, my routine. Laura was my daughter, my flesh, my story, yet I didn't feel I'd saved either of them. I asked myself over and over, what did I do? What didn't I do? Who did I fail first? 2 months, 62 days, 1,480 hours. And yet, when I saw him standing at my door, a bouquet of daisies in one hand and an uncertain look on his face, It felt like no time had passed. I didn't know whether to open the door fully or slam it shut. "Hi," he said, almost whispering. "Hi," I replied, feeling my heart pound against my ribs. He was thinner. Unshaven beard, slightly longer hair. But something in his eyes hadn't changed. That mix of guilt and tenderness that irritated me more than I could admit. "I'm not here for Laura," he said, direct, no preamble. "I figured." A heavy silence fell. I realized I was wearing my old housecoat, disheveled. My hair was tied up messily. I wasn't expecting anyone, and yet it bothered me that he saw me like this. "Can I come in?" he asked. I didn't answer. I stepped aside. He walked in. He set the flowers on the table. Not roses, not lilies, nothing meant for romance. Just simple daisies. Ordinary, like him, like what we were or weren't. "I just wanted to talk," he said, sitting on the couch, in the same spot where he'd shared his fears so many times. "About what?" I asked, not looking at him. He shrugged, like a kid who doesn't know the answer in class. "I don't know, I didn't come for answers, I just missed you." Those words stung like a splinter. I sat across from him, keeping my distance. Not another word for minutes, just the tick of the clock, the scent of daisies, the tension filling every corner. "Shouldn't you be moving on?" I said finally. "Finding a new place, a new story, a new person?" "I don't want a new person," he replied. "I didn't come to ask for anything, just to feel like someone still listens to me." And there I was, listening, as always. A foolish warmth ran down my spine, an unfair relief, a tenderness I shouldn't have felt. Not for him, not after everything. Yet there it was, finding familiarity in his voice, in something that shouldn't exist anymore. We didn't cry. We didn't hug, we just shared a coffee. An hour. A fragment of memory no one had figured out how to leave behind. When he left, I lingered at the door a few seconds longer. The smell of coffee, the couch still warm. And a thought gnawing at me, what if it was never about her? What if it was always about me? I don't know when I started waiting for him. Maybe the third Sunday in a row, or the fourth. He always brought something, freshly baked bread. An old movie, or just his quiet presence. We didn't talk much, we didn't touch, we were nothing. But that nothing began to fill a void I didn't know I had. I told myself it wasn't a relationship. No promises. Just two people who understood each other without causing pain. That was enough until it wasn't. One afternoon, without warning, the doorbell rang insistently. I opened it without thinking, and there she was, my daughter, Laura. I hadn't seen that look on her face since she was a child, a mix of fury and disappointment, eyes blazing, jaw tight. "So it's true," she spat, no greeting. "What's true?" I asked, though I already knew. "That you're seeing him." "My ex-husband?" My throat tightened. "Laura, it's not what you think." "Don't treat me like I'm stupid," she yelled. "What do you think, that no one sees you at the market with him? That this neighborhood doesn't have eyes, ears, tongues?" I swallowed hard. I couldn't meet her gaze, and that, more than anything, enraged her. "You always said you stayed out of it, always washed your hands, but in the end it was you. You." Her voice shook. "Does it make you feel young? Wanted, loved?" "Enough," I managed to say, finally. "You don't know anything about what I feel. And do you know what I felt when I saw you too? When I pictured my mom with him? That's when I knew something between us was broken. Something apologies couldn't fix. Because there was nothing I could say to make her understand. I wasn't a saint. I never was. I was just a woman. A woman who needed to be seen, to be heard. Not just a mother. Not anyone's ex-wife. Not a silent shadow. "He's not yours, Laura," I said, voice low but steady. "He's not property. You left him. He left. And I just tried to survive the emptiness you both left." She didn't answer. She looked at me with a mix of hatred and sadness that tore me apart. "Don't contact me again," she whispered before leaving. I was left alone, with my truth, my guilt, the silence clinging to the walls like old dampness, and fear. The fear of losing the one thing I always thought was certain, my daughter's love. That morning, I sat in front of the mirror, not to put on makeup, not to fix my hair, just to look at myself, to see what was left of me in my own eyes. It wasn't hers, it wasn't his, and maybe it was never fully mine. For years, I tried to be the mother who listens without judging, the woman who doesn't meddle, the quiet figure amid the noise. And in the end, when silence fell over this house like a damp blanket, I realized there were no winners in our story, only ruins. Marcus didn't come back after the fight with Laura, nor did I reach out, not because I didn't miss him. I did, but for the first time in a long time, I understood that wanting something isn't the same as needing it. And not everything that hurts is worth holding on to. Laura didn't answer my texts. Her absence hurt more than her screams. But I also realized something harsh and true. I hurt her, and there's no guide to healing that wound. No promises. No time. For years, I thought loving meant giving without limits. Being a mother, being a pillar, being a shadow. For Laura, if needed. But now, sitting in the kitchen with a cup of cold tea in my hands, I knew that was also a way of disappearing. Maybe we all failed. Laura, for expecting from him what he couldn't give. Marcus, for seeking in me what he needed to resolve himself. And me, for staying silent so long I forgot how to hear myself. That Sunday, the doorbell didn't ring. No flowers, no fresh bread. Just the sound of the wind against the blinds. And the start of a strange calm. I don't know if I'm okay, I don't know if I'm whole. But I am, and for the first time, that's enough. I closed the window. I took a deep breath. The air smelled different. Not better, not worse. Just different. As if everything had ended or maybe just begun.